Damn, Ingenious made the beat? Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I'm, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Joined with me, as always, my co-pilot, the Dime Dropper, Coach Luna. How we doing, Brody?
Blessed, man. Conquered two things today, man. I finally PR'd on my 10K.
Hey,
First time since May. Went ahead and crushed that. I did 53 minutes and 34 seconds. So you already know what that means. That means I got to crack 50 by the end of the year.
I was going to say, man, got to get 50 now.
Nothing to it. But the best thing, Coach, and like I told you in pre-show, the biggest accomplishment, maybe the biggest, you know what, I ain't going to say maybe. It is the biggest accomplishment of my life. I finally finished reading the Bible, bro. From
Yes,
to
sir.
Revelation for myself chronologically. Man, what a journey.
Man, we gonna dissect that because I got some questions for you. I know we chopped it up a little bit in pre-show. We definitely gonna touch on that. CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast Radio and brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, bro? Oh, we can't see. You can't see. You got new gear. What's going on right now?
You doing Coach Life?
There we go. There you go. Appreciate you,
man. Blessed, doing good, feeling great, feeling fine, feeling good. How are you,
man? Blessed as always. Ready to jump into this topic, man. Like I said, man, we got a chance to have a very, very good discussion in pre-show. So you missed a little bit of pre-show, but we'll catch you up to speed in this topic. Speaking of this topic,
bring me in.
We got you, bro. We got you. So speaking of which, Coach Luna, would you do the honor, sir, of telling the fans out there today what are we talking about?
Man, this is something that has been on our hearts. If y'all haven't noticed about a lot of the topics that we cover, but we need to go ahead and get one particular part of our population back in its playbook, back to where it needs to be.
Man.
And a part of that is just with a simple, quick little 2-word statement, and it's man up. Men, us, we need to get ourselves back right. As men, as a gender, we need to get ourselves back right.
Yeah.
The term man up has been a common part of societal vernacular for decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
This has been thrown around quite a bit. Again, you mentioned something a little bit ago about it's kind of being challenged now. It's kind of being redefined now. That term is now being questioned a little bit. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, it was questioned. I feel like it kind of got tossed to the side. I think the questioning happened a little while ago. You ain't really been hearing it. It got challenged enough to the point where we really ain't been like really checking each other with it no more.
It's not a thing anymore.
Nah.
Well, maybe it is a thing. Maybe it's just looked at a little bit differently. And maybe we need to kind of reel that back in.
There you go.
So that being said, let's make a quick little segue. When we talk about manning up, let's go to what we like to do when we first dissect the topic is go into the definition of it. What is our interpretation of that definition? So when we talk about manning up, what does that mean to you guys? Coach Wash, I'll let you take this one first. What does manning up mean to you?
You knew how we grew up.
Right.
that was pretty much like the don't show any type of vulnerability. That's the first thing. The minute you look like you wanted to boo-hoo, fall over, cry, got to complaining about something, that was the check. Man up. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the check.
Don't cry.
That was number one. Like whatever emotions you wanted to display that didn't exemplify toughness, retaliation, and anger.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else wasn't acceptable. All that happy, feeling good, hugging, loving. Nah,
Not a thing.
that wasn't a part of the man up.
That seems like this is the opposite of manning up.
Yeah, and we gonna check. We gonna bring it back, but we gonna bring it back right.
There you
Correct.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Coach Luna, manning up. What does manning up mean to you from a definition standpoint?
Manning up, what it meant to me then, or manning up, what it means to me now?
I'm glad that you said that, sir. Let's say back then, what did it mean to you then?
There was a lot of similarities with what Coach Watts described as far as how you came up with toughness, never backing down, never be belittled. You know, if you get hit, you punch right back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Stand your ground, be firm in the things you believe in. But this is the one that needed, and is the one that needs the most fixing right now, is the level of doing what was pleasing for myself as a man at that time, doing what was pleasing for me and what I thought was good, and following that road. No matter where it led me, I'm a man. I can do what I did. I can do this. I can do this. I can go unchecked, no accountability, because we all do the same thing. Y'all can't, nobody can tell me anything.
Yep.
Now, my definition of manning up is doing exactly what you and I talked about before. Now my definition of manning up is being able to say no. Being able to say no to the things that kept me in this cycle that has led to the injured manhood of where we're at right now as a culture of men. I talked to you about this right in pre-show. The biggest thing that along this journey for me, going through following the Bible, going through it chronologically, one, it gave me a better understanding of exactly how the Bible worked from beginning to the end to Revelation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But along the way, it also gave me more belief and more of a sense of how I'm supposed to be able to conduct myself. So I talked to you about this analogy of, as football players in any sport, actually, of any sport that has strategy. You know, what is the one thing coach always tells you? If you say, hey, coach, what can I do to get better? What can I do to be better at practice? What are the things? What is something that I can do? I may be a good athlete. I may be all these other things, but what is one thing that every coach always tells the player? What's he always tell?
You got to get in the playbook.
Got to get in our playbook, right? So here's the problem with us as men. We've lost our playbook. Because how can I get better at my plays? How can I get better at running these plays of life, running these segments of my life, running these? How can I be a better leader? How can I be a better father? How can I be a better follower in a lot of cases? Follower of who we're supposed to follow. How can I be better if I have lost my playbook? But here's the thing, coach, we haven't lost the playbook. The playbook is right there, but 97% of our playbooks is dusty. 97% of our playbooks haven't been opened in a long time. Well, so of course I don't know what plays to run and how to run it. I haven't opened my playbook in years.
Well, Coach Luna, I have to ask the question now. Why do I need to open my playbook when somebody's telling me the plays?
If you don't see it for yourself, you will not gain that understanding for yourself.
Man.
If you don't see what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be conducting, the routes I'm supposed to be doing, if I don't see it for myself, if I don't read it for myself, it does not get etched into my brain. If it does not get etched into my brain, it does not get etched into my heart. So if it's not getting into all of my senses myself, I am not going to subconsciously remember this, and I'm not consciously going to remember this. Because again, we talk about the methods of learning. The best method of learning from all of history has always been through pen and paper and reading aloud with your own two eyes. Why? Because it involves the most senses. The more senses that is involved with your reading, the better chances you have of understanding what you're reading
And retaining what you
and
read.
retaining what you're reading. So if you're only getting this playbook once out of your 7 days, so that means 52 times a year out of 365. I don't even want to do the math and need to know how to do the math to do that. I know that's about 20%, probably less than that. You're only getting it 52 times if you go every single Sunday. And you're only getting certain segments and certain little itty bitty parts, fractions of each one. You're getting way less than 20%. You have to go ahead and put your playbook and read your playbook and get that understanding. Because like I told you, the more and more I read it, I gained more and more belief. And at the same time, my heart became less calloused because I was able to understand how the Old Testament, why the New Testament was needed, why the New Testament had to be fulfilled, why Jesus had to come and fulfill the prophecy of Isaiah, why those things happen when we talk about the unblemished lamb and the sacrifice and him coming in on a donkey. Those were his dreams from the Old Testament.
That was said thousands of years prior to.
Lord knows how many years, because we have we'll talk about that a little later too. However many years it was, you can find these things through history. I'm telling you, I have been deep diving. I'm talking about, I'm not a great swimmer, but when it comes into swimming books, I am swimming to the bottom of the pit. If I can get all the way down there and get as many books along the way, I'm swimming as far as I can because I want to know. I'm not going to let my faith and my journey be hung up on one person, two people, or somebody else's beliefs and their interpretation. I need this for myself. My salvation is for me, as for everyone else. It is received, it is given to us, but it's my responsibility to handle myself and my salvation, to make sure my book, I'm written in the book of life. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so you took it to a biblical standpoint. So I think we probably need to keep going down this road really quick because there's a lot of gems on this road that we need to unpack. When we talk about manning up, obviously the old way of thinking about it was the meaning of exerting dominance, being completely void of emotion. This is the person that, again, just that was, you had to have this hard outer shell all the time, right? Couldn't be soft at all. What was considered soft. Now, when we look at what manning up is, or what manning up should have been back then, and what we believe it is, it's in service, in servant leadership. Coach Wash, when you talk about servant leadership and you talk about manning up, how does those two equate to each other?
You can't be a good leader without being real. How can I lead you down the right path if I'm back to what I said last week, if I'm acting a fool and not being wise? Now I got people following foolishness.
It kind of goes back and coincides with what Coach Luna said a little bit ago about studying your plays. I'm pretty sure all of us being coaches, I'm pretty sure you've been on the football field and you had someone had to tell you a play because you didn't know the play.
But here's the thing. When you know the playbook, you know the game.
Makes it much easier to make decisions, right?
Yeah. But now, without knowing the playbook, you're always relying upon
coach to yell
that may know.
Try to tell you, hey, you got this.
Yeah. And then things get lost in translation and things get missed.
I thought you said this, coach. I
thought.
Yeah.
It's a big difference between running that fade and then running that post, right? Exactly. I saw you put your hand on your head, but I went like this. I said fade. No, I thought you said post. again, the interpretation may be very different, right?
Yeah, man up. You need to know the game. You need to know the playbook so you know the game. In the Muslim world, they tell you, need to be on your deen. You need to know your doctrine. You need to know your word, know the script, know it well. See, a big part of this knowing the script. So first I had to pull it up. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. When I started this pod, I said, blessed child of God. But then we progress. We go to a blessed man of God. So manning up involves embracing emotions, accepting the emotions and displaying the emotions, and showing that you have to push through things yourself too. And since we're down that path, and we down our spiritual path right now, what would Jesus do? He would show you everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the sad. He showed us everything. That's manning up. That's manning up.
Coach, let me add to your point about the leadership part. To be a leader, one must be led, right? And for me to be led, that means that I have to have a level of selflessness within myself to understand that there are things that I am not good at that I need to continue to sharpen on myself so I can be a better servant unto others, because I need to keep receiving this playbook as well. I can't just, like I told you, Coach, I finished the Bible, and guess what I'm gonna start tomorrow? Genesis 1. Yep. Just a whole new different version, because I need to continue, because he said his word is everlasting and you are renewed every single day. So I am going to read this book again, and then 1 year from now, we're going to have this same conversation, but I'm going to have more revelations because I'm consistently following what is being told. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the part where we have to be real with ourselves as well, is what is tripping me up. So when I read the Bible, bro, and I kept running across this word, drunkard, drunkenness, drunkard and drunkenness. And at the same time, I was still battling my demon with drinking alcohol. And I'm like, bro, every time I hear this word, I feel like a punch straight to my jaw. Drunkard, drunkenness, drunkard, drunkenness. And I'm like, bro, there's a problem with this. If it's in this book and it's saying that this type of person in this act leads to these things, that means that this thing is literally poison. Even though I know that it's poison, because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel warm inside. It makes me forget things. It makes me have to forget about accountability. So when I kept reading and I see drunkard in Proverbs, I see drunkenness in another chapter, I see drunkenness in the New Testament, I see the condemnation with this word and what it is that gets to be drunkard or drunkenness. I see that. I got to remove this. And, and that's still not perfect, but man, I promise you I can say no. And for the past however many years, I can hang my head now and say, bro, no, I'm good.
Yep.
Don't want none. You know what I'm saying? Because I finally understood what it meant, especially when I read it in the New Testament, because of what it does to the brain and the part of the brain. Again, these devils are slick, bro. What part of the brain it decides to shut off? It decides to shut off the one with rational thoughts. That's why they say, drunken minds speak what? Sober thoughts.
Sober thoughts,
right?
Yep, absolutely.
Drunken minds speak sober thoughts is what
Absolutely.
They say. So it takes away that cognitive ability to know yes or no, because it only does what it wants to do. Right. That's why you have Shelby talk about, he got autopilot. And I've had autopilot a few times. And I thought about it. I'm like, bro, that's kind of scary when you think about it, because who's in control? I don't remember. I don't remember that. Dang, I did
Wrong
that.
spirits.
You get what I'm saying? I don't remember any of that. And when you think about that, bro, and like I said, when I read that in there, it was just constant revelation within myself. I'm like, bro, no, this is not okay. I have to get this poison away from me, out of my spirit. It has to get gone. It may not have that same impact for everybody else, but again, I've been reading my playbook, and my playbook says I'm not supposed to do this right here.
It
And
starts making sense.
it's attacking me when I read this.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I got to go ahead and say, this is not my assignment. This ain't for me. Plain and simple. Am I going to follow my playbook, or am I going to recreate the playbook and tell, hey, coach, nah, you know what? This is what we should be doing. Actually.
Have you had that player before?
Oh, coach, you always have those one guys that want to go ahead and say, coach, no, we should be doing this. We should. And it never works out.
Why?
Because it's not what it's supposed to do. That's not how it's designed. That's not what we're doing.
There's a
one
whole
way.
purpose behind you putting the playbook the way that it's put together.
That's what I told my players yesterday. That play popped because you was misaligned.
There it
Coach,
is.
There's a word there.
There's a word there. Yep.
Left a
Only a
hole.
word there.
Left the wrong hole there. We ain't cover our gaps.
Well, you hit on something that we talked about in pre-show too. You can't do your job efficiently well, right? Unless you really truly know your playbook. If you don't know your playbook, you're going to get yourself or someone else hurt. Let's think about that. I want to dissect that a little bit more.
Yeah.
When we talk about hurting yourself or hurting somebody else by not knowing your playbook, have you ever given some advice that didn't turn out so well to somebody else?
Absolutely.
Oh, you should do this, like, because I have a similar problem. You not being in your playbook, you doing it yourself.
I'm
right?
giving worldly advice.
Worldly advice, exactly. You giving worldly advice, and all of a sudden that worldly advice is not working out for that person. And then that person just stopped coming around and start getting into more stuff they probably shouldn't get into, because what you gave them was from here. That's not what they were looking for.
And that's not what they were supposed to be receiving.
Oh, you gave them some advice from the program thing, advice? That what you gave? Oh, no. That ain't gonna work.
That's not gonna work. That never works. I think, again, when we start talking about the term manning up, and like, again, when we talk about it from a biblical standpoint, I always look at it as this is the time where you need to be sacrificing your ego. This is the time when you sacrifice your ego. And this is the time when you start figuring out a way to start servicing others, servicing humanity with compassion. Like, actually using. Coach Wash just said it a few minutes ago before we switch topics. When we started talking about, the definition, but what it should be anyway is this is you actually leaning a little bit more into your emotions, saying that you don't got it. That's something that I've been struggling with for a very long time. Is trying to take it all on by myself because I got it. I don't want to get everybody else involved in the situation or tell everybody else what's going on because it's a lot for me. Well, eventually you're not going to have it. And you got to be okay with that. And that's part of manning up and saying that, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's one of the reasons why we have so many issues right now with, mental issues that we have right now with everybody, because we don't look at it that way, where we don't say, I'm not okay, and be okay saying I'm not okay, and then seeking the help at that point. But because of manning up, we just want to tackle it all by ourselves.
Unfortunately, we just keep ending up in the same pitfall every single time, year after year after year. It's the same exact story every single time. I keep trying to do this. I am not powerful enough to substitute God where God is trying to intervene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You understand that? Like I am just a mere human. I can only do with what I can do at best. You know, the one thing that's sticking out to me, and I thought about this morning on my run, was this whole complex, like I am a God. Okay. Yes, one can create life, one can, but everything that we are able to do on this earth is given to us from him. How are you able to go ahead and give birth and have birth? Because he put the things in you that could go ahead and create this baby. You didn't. You were created through the same process that we do as a regeneration. Mm-hmm. How can you go ahead and put this plant and make this plant grow? You have to use this sunlight. You have to use, and if you don't use sunlight, use artificial light. Well, what do you have to use for artificial light? You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We always try to substitute and not give credit where the credit is already written every single day of our lives, every single second and every single moment. You know what I'm saying? We just consistently keep trying to live in this God complex, and it's easier to just say, I am not God, and I'm not trying to be. That's his job. My job is exactly what's written in this playbook. It's just like playing on the field, coach. Everybody has their one specific assignment. Well, I read my playbook. I've been reading my playbook, and my playbook says to do this. So then I'm going to do that. Now, we all have different gifts, and through our gifts is a way that the differentiation of the delivering of our gifts and how we use our gifts based off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Wash has the ability to go ahead and create music. You know what I'm saying? That's his gift. So how does he do it? He writes his poems, and those poems are coming with glorification. Just like for example, D1, when we just, that D1 and 19 Keys. Mm-hmm. That podcast, perfect example. Two different men on the end of the spectrum, as far as what one may say, as far as belief here and belief there from a worldly view. But I'll let people go watch that pod for themselves. We may have little points here and there about that one, but the source, tap into the source. There's no other way. Get yourself out of the equation.
You said something, Coach. You said something. This is one that popped up for me in my daily prayers. I think this is Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness.
Yeah. So what's funny about that, Coach? When we get T White back on here, he'll tell you. He was at my barbecue, bro, in the last 30 minutes, last hour, really. Me and him, we were just talking, bro, and it was all about God the whole time we were talking. And I told him, I said, bro, when we're closest to God is when we're actually at our lowest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I said, if you read the New Testament, I asked him, I said, have you read the New Testament for yourself lately? He's like, nah, not lately. My grandma always read it to me, right? Is what he told me. I said, bro, read it for yourself and go and look and see who Jesus went to go and have time with, and the people he chose to advance this word. I said, bro, Saul was literally killing Christians. And he talks about his first time running into God. He said there was a ball of light that just came into a room and spoke to him. And he said the light looked like the man of God, is exactly what he said. Mm-hmm. And the man of God told him, if you read the Bible, the red letters is Jesus. And it said, why are you persecuting? Why are you persecuting me? Is exactly what. And then he said, after that, he was like, bro, I can't explain this feeling that I have been receiving. So even through his trial of his story about how he got persecuted and how he got thrown into jail and how much he was getting persecuted for believing in this, he was like, bro, I'm telling y'all. He got in front of everybody in Rome and said, I'm telling y'all, y'all know who I was. I was killing Christians. I was the same person y'all are right now. He said, I have seen this man. I have interacted with him. I'm telling y'all, this is real. And they still went ahead and persecuted him still. And the whole time he said, you know what? So be it. I'm so unapologetic. I'm so man. I'm such a man in my belief. I'm standing on business. Y'all do what y'all need to do. Y'all gonna see for yourselves.
It's something to be said about that. It's something to be said about that. It's some again, it just reaffirms the verse, the Bible verse again. Again, my grace is sufficient for you. That's the one thing that I took out of that whole thing was his grace is sufficient for you. So again, however strong you think you are, however much you think you can handle right now, again, it's just saying that admitting weakness and relying on God that's your true form of strength.
Absolutely, man. The word is literal. The word is literal, bro. I used to think it was a curse that I was so literal, bro. And I was, bro. I am very literal. Like you tell me to do that, it's exactly how it's gonna get.
I get in trouble for that. I get in trouble for that with my wife, bro, because I'm too literal.
Me too. my wife and one of my coworkers, they call me Drax. If you ever watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Right, bro.
Hey, bro, you should have told me that, bro. You should have told me that.
The lift weights, and you just boom right here. I'm Drax. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. But then, if you ever watch Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax played one of the biggest roles as far as how everything worked out. We won't go into that. But my point is, you have to understand the word is meant to be literal.
True. Very true.
Our ways, when we go ahead and add the gray area, is when we go ahead and just like in football, man, coach, I seen that gap open. So I went ahead and did that, and now the running back bounced.
Play's dead.
I just told you what to do. Your playbook said to do this. And thank God that we have the New Testament. Thank God we had the New Testament, because if you don't understand the Bible, the New Testament had to happen because of the New Covenant. The Old Covenant, we wouldn't have this part. Old Covenant, we would have been gone. This wouldn't have occurred.
This was the reset. That was literally
reset. Old Testament one, no joke,
man.
Boy.
The reset has already happened. Coach already blew the whistle and said we're gonna restart practice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, y'all gave us a whole nother chance. A whole nother chance.
Oh man.
And
man.
but Coach,
God was coming through. He was coming through hard in the old boy.
Man, people, I'm telling you, when you read that, Coach, when you read that, so Coach, again, I am a very literal person. So what do? I go ahead and I go on YouTube and I go on the internet and I try to find historical evidence, real historical evidence, artifacts, and places that were in the Old Testament. Sure enough, go on YouTube, and here's this channel of this dude that has already done all these things.
Yep.
He has literally went through every single place that was in the Bible. He even found Sodom, the Sodom and Gomorrah. He found that because he said he took a sample of the rocks of the sulfur, and he said the whole land still smelled like sulfur. And if you read the land, it said that the land will never bear fruit or any vegetation ever again. And boom, what do you see?
Still smells like sulfur.
Coach, what did they used to say about Egypt? How was Egypt at one point? Luscious.
It's fruitful. It's a luscious garden.
Hello.
The pyramids were made out of ivory and gold.
What is the only story that tells us the fall of Egypt? Man, let's go. Come on, if we want to attach history, how can we not use history book? This is his story. I'm tired of people trying to go ahead and make that something else. This is his story. All of this is his story.
Yep.
But we get that God complex about ourselves. So now we want to go ahead and try to practice what the Egyptians were doing. Didn't y'all see what happened? We gonna repeat this?
Yeah.
That's history, though.
Man,
That's
listen,
history, though.
the dumbest mistakes that people do. What is the word for ignorance?
Repeating
Constantly
something,
repeating the
yep,
same things, expecting different
different
results. So we're gonna go right back into these paganistic beliefs. We're gonna go right back into these beliefs of I am a God and all these other things. We're gonna go right back into these same exact things that were written thousands of years ago. It says blah 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 leads to this. We're gonna do this again.
We would hope not. We would hope not. Which is the reason why we have this.
We're having this conversation.
Exactly. Which is why we have this podcast. Which is why I'm pretty sure there's multiple other people out there that have podcasts very similar to this that are trying to spread that positivity in some way, shape, or form, and trying to put some guardrails back on the ambiguity of manning up. Right? Putting some when I say putting guardrails on, like not to the extent of what we had when we were growing up, right? Where it was you had to be tough. You had there was no being soft, right? That's not a thing. That's not a thing.